Warning, if you have a fear of Lovecraftian tentacle monsters, the physical and mental corruption of magical girls, militaristic science fiction politics, and despair, this review may not be for you. Viewer discretion is advised. End Aegis is a very unique visual novel. It's a grim, dark take on the magical girl genre, fusing heavy military science fiction with morbid corruption on Eroguro levels of horror. It reaches euphoria and maggots-based level of immoral grotesqueness, as these magical girls are defiled between the killer monstrous aliens and the sadistic bastard men. End Aegis is galaxies away from a wholesome game in terms of its content, but it's the best dark eroge visual novel I can recommend. Fantastic across all aspects and my personal favorite in the genre. Hi, my name is August and I want to help you find something great to read and experience, and this is your final warning for what is the roughest visual novel I've covered on this channel. Let's take a look at End Aegis. Leave your optimism at the door because any glimmer of hope for these characters is viciously stomped out of existence. Between the killer Lovecraftian monsters, the malicious political intent, and this ugly bastard, saying women are taking it rough is a severe understatement. There were multiple points where the main character was at their lowest point, and it has clearly passed them. But End Aegis kept going and going and going. In this world, women are recruited to be magical girls to serve as the frontal force in the war against the alien lifeforms. However, the initiation to become a magical girl is to be corrupted by those same aliens in order to absorb their power. Powers that are proportionate to their sexual development, where the more they drown in pleasure, the stronger they become. And so these magical girls face two options: submit to the men's malicious acts of training or die mercilessly in battle. The idea sounds ridiculous, but End Aegis takes it seriously and is very uncompromising. So let's start off by talking about the brutality our main character Minori Izuka has to face. And horrifyingly, the most repulsive aspect isn't being desecrated by the aliens or the humans. It's the fact that everything here is considered normal. The place that Minori has been stationed at is far isolated from Earth, and its culture promotes this type of cruel behavior. Any form of resistance leads to blackmail. Obey the rules or suffer the consequences, either to herself or to those she loves. Continued rebellion leads to more punishment, and even submission can lead to potential scorn and hatred from her fellow peers. Even the act of undergoing sexual training, as morbid as it sounds, is logically for the greater good, because if she doesn't, she'll end up getting killed, or worse, humanity is doomed. No matter what Minori does, she's trapped in this system that preys off of her suffering, and the harshest part is that she's just an expendable part of this larger system. She's not the only one to suffer, for what seemed to be a noble duty for Minori is faced with the harsh true reality. However, despite these crippling conditions, she continues to fight against the system, to step up for her fellow girls. But the moment when Minori sees a safe haven from the insanity, the despair and hopelessness crushes her with 5 times the amount of force. It was already depressing enough, and watching the cruel acts being done to her made me angry and disgusted. But seeing Minori's hopes and dreams get absolutely obliterated made me so miserable. And yet, she refuses to give up. It's this balancing act to see whether or not Minori comes out victorious or broken that keeps the story so engaging to read. But on the other hand, it also doesn't hold back in how horrifyingly explicit the scenes are. It's the most shocking and repulsive visual novel I've read so far. God forbid you're a newcomer to this type of visual gore. Now, while I say that, I'm damn near impressed by how outstanding the artistic quality is here. It's a compliment to the Eroguro genre, as it being shown off in full display. I argue that any censorship would harm its beautifully grotesque image. Those were a strange sequence of words I just said, but that's just how fantastic the art is here, and it's all attributed to Ueda Metawo as the main artist and director, the same individual behind Gore Screaming Show, Min Dead Blood, and specifically Sadistic Blood, an equally horrific visual novel that just so happens to be my most popular review at the time of this recording. Now, with all this content, you might think to yourself, oh, it's just torture for the sake of torture. But alas, it's not just for dark, titillating scenes. Here, sex has a purpose, and every single H scene has narrative relevance and character development. This is a work that is impossible to function as an all-ages title. It's that critical. In fact, it's End Aegis' terrifyingly realistic perspective that makes it very clear how abhorrent this whole situation is. It's bad enough that the external factors are literally designed to with the characters, but the girls' weaknesses aren't helping them either. End Aegis genuinely wants to get into their headspace to break them, and targets their crippling faults, with the most insecure one taking all of the biggest hits. There's even a whole political background aspect that really sells you on the realism. The magical girls are just like a new shiny commodity for men to profit off of. Again, everything's a part of this cursed system. So when End Aegis combines the abhorrent treatment of the girls with the predatory capitalistic intent and showed me the result, I had to shut down the game and take a mental break. Because even if penis aliens don't exist in our world, there's still dicks out there. I think the most repulsive part though is when it happens literally in the actual H scene itself. End Aegis out here being ambitious with its chaotic direction, being the first title I've read where the casual discussion of economic policies happens during a brothel scene. I praise the gruesome artwork, but that's not the only thing End Aegis excels at production-wise too. The girls are deployed to fight the aliens, and these fight scenes that take place carries itself with so much high intensity. With the combination of its visual cuts, transitions, and sound effects, the visual novel creates this dynamic movement from the girls. And as they're mowing down these aliens, the space opera backing tracks give it such a bombastic and grandiose feeling. It's these moments that make me realize that our female leads are indeed heroic magical girls, beacons of hope that can inspire others. In conclusion, End Aegis is an extremely unique visual novel that revels in the grimmest aspects of its genre, packed with so much ambition and creativity. While it displays some of the most deranged, messed up content, clearly not safe for your mental sanity and incredibly hard to watch at times, there's a high level of quality in its thoughtful writing and characterization. Every chapter also continuously up the ante through its roller coaster of a ride, taking you between the story's moments of optimistic hope and harrowing despair. There are some repetitive torturous elements and minor nitpicks in terms of the supporting cast, but Minori's battle against corruption from practically all aspects takes the center spotlight, and End Aegis tells her story wonderfully. End Aegis is definitely not for everybody, but for those willing to take up the challenge and suffer through some of the worst depictions of humanity, you'll get a fantastic, one-of-a-kind experience. End Aegis gets a 5 out of 5 with a seal of recommendation.